Welcome back to In Ohio Country today, and we're here at the beautiful Palazzo Event Center in Botkins, Ohio. And with me is Bob Linkhorn with LIMACO from Urbana, Ohio. And Bob is in the grain merchandising business. Bob, thanks for being with us.
You're certainly welcome. My pleasure to be here today, Alan.
Bob, we talk about risk management seminars. We talk about protecting the crop when it's in the field or while we're growing it, but there's also another side of that risk management, and that's where you come in.
Well, it's one of the things that ultimately we have to remember that farming is no longer a lifestyle like it once was many, many years ago. It's a business today, and we have to address it as a business and think about how we're going to stay in business and what is our business plan and going forward, and marketing a crop is part of that.
Well, when you're talking about marketing a crop, you want to talk about specifically about how you help folks and what you do every day.
Well, I have a variety of folks that I work with. I have some commercial accounts that I work with and help them in their merchandising programs, and I have a few farm accounts that I help implement and their marketing plans and implement the sales when the time comes. So we try to address what makes good sense, what's logical, and what is sound business, and that's part of what we have to look at today.
Well, when we're talking about logical and sound business, so many times producers are holding on to that last bushel of corn for what reason, I'm not sure. But you put some logic and have some and actually guide them on a path to help them pull the trigger at the right time.
Well, yes, we certainly look at that, and everyone's opinion is different, and the willingness to go along with something is up to each individual. But we try to look at what the supply-demand situation is and what the market opportunities may be, what lies ahead. Needless to say, weather conditions, not only in this country, but any place else in the world, are a big contributing factor. But the bottom line comes down to what's a good business decision to make. And we're not going to hit the top of the market all the time. Nobody is. But let's sell it when we have profit opportunities and take advantage of when those days are out here instead of getting beat up with it in years like we're having here now.
Well, it's interesting when you were talking today. I think a point that you made that commodities and their production is no longer only dependent upon what happens in the United States.
No, the world is a major factor today, and we are sharing what we have gained from a genetic standpoint, agricultural practices in this country with the rest of the world, and they're improving at a much more rapid pace than what we were able to improve our yields over the last 50 years. They're gaining our knowledge and taking advantage of it today. So the world is very competitive, and they're up to date with what's going on. Maybe they're still trying to catch up, but they're learning very quickly as we move forward.
Well, I thought you gave a lot of interesting numbers today, but something that I thought was pretty intriguing to me is the average production for corn, what the average yield was 50 years ago in 1967 compared to what the average production expected yield is for this year was quite a different number.
It is, and in 1967 is the first year that we hit 80 bushel to the acre on a national average yield, and it was 80.1. When you look at what happened from 1967 through 1976, our average increase was like 1.93 bushel of corn per year over that 50-year period. And I didn't pick 67 for any reason than other. It was 50 years, so it wasn't picked just because it was a poor year and 16 was a good year. But I wanted to go back 50 years and compare, and it's really amazing just how we have improved over that time period and how much we improved. And to think about, here we are this year with a 175 national average yield, and if we continue to improve at this pace, in 10 years we're going to be a 195? That's amazing. I think it's astonishing how we've done that, and a lot of practices have helped do that. Genetics have taken a big step, but we've put a lot of tile in the ground. We do soil testing today and apply nutrients based on where they need to go, not just what we want to spread over the entire field. We do a much better job of harvesting today than we used to. We don't have the field loss. So all those factors do contribute, but genetics, needless to say, have played a big and a very important part of that.
Well, so that's very interesting in that point, because it wasn't that many years ago, and we can go back to that, 2012 in particular. I remember they said, and you probably did too, that, hey, we're not going to be able to produce enough corn to feed everybody, right? We can't put it in fuel.
With the improvements we've seen in the demand base because of adding the ethanol industry that we have, and it's currently consuming 5 billion bushel of corn a year, we, through genetics and a variety of issues, we're planting more acres today also, but the entire process has improved, and yes, we're keeping up pace and we're adding to. And, in all reality, 1.93 bushel today is not the same percentage increase as it was back in 1968. It was a much bigger percent increase then than what it is today. So as we add technology to our farming practices, it's going to be one of the things that continue to help improve that, I think.
So when we're talking about, increased yield, and we want to make sure we protect that crop, obviously, while we're growing it. And, the other part of that leg is making sure that we market the crop when the opportunity arises.
No question. And we have to be more willing going forward to step forward and take advantage of profit opportunities than maybe what we have been in the past because of our concerns. What if we have a bad crop? Yes, that exists. But majority of the time, we do have a crop, so we're going to have to take advantage. And it's almost like there's some tougher times ahead of us right now. P&L and agriculture isn't real lucrative right now on the production side, so we're going to have to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented and be ready to act when we do have them.
Bob, so, something else that's always on everybody's mind, or at least it's on my mind, is, we actually are in a global market, and a lot of our production goes overseas. So what do you see and could happen, or we would hope that we would look for in updated trade agreements?
Well, as Washington moves forward, I hope that they are cautious and don't start implying import duties to folks who decide to reciprocate and restrict their ag imports from the United States. I mean, approximately 50% of our soybean production gets exported. And I'd hate to see Washington come out with a program that China decides we're not going to buy any soybeans out of the United States anymore, and that would be detrimental to us. So I hope that we keep those thoughts in mind as they look at trade agreements going forward. Don't do something that puts the stop on agriculture and our folks here in Ohio.
Well, Bob, as always, it's a pleasure, and thanks for being with us today.
You're certainly welcome. My pleasure.
We'll be back with more right after this.
Allen Davis Insurance Agency, with 30 years commitment to the community, providing quality insurance services. Allen is a business owner and an active farmer, and he knows firsthand the pressures of running your farming operation. Call Allen today and ask about coverage for your farm, your vehicles, your equipment, crops, and more. Call 1-800-686-2148. That's 1-800-686-2148.